UFC, the world leader in MMA. Experience it on Fuel TV.
Welcome to the UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV. The Octagon has touched down in Brazil for the second time in 3 weeks, and the night is headlined by a clash between two heavyweight titans. Antonio Minotauro Nogueira has never lost in his homeland of Brazil and is coming off a memorable win in Rio last October. Looking to derail Big Nog, Fabricio Werdum. Werdum is 2-0 since returning to the UFC last year, and a third victory could put him in the crosshairs for a UFC title shot. The two battled as coaches on The Ultimate Fighter Brazil, and tomorrow they'll settle the score in the Octagon. Plus, a new Ultimate Fighter Brazil winner will be crowned, and it'll be an all-team Nogueira finale. 21-year-old undefeated William Padalino takes on 33-year-old veteran Leonardo Santos. Will it be youth or experience that captures the Ultimate Fighter crown? We break it all down next on the UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV.
It's a heavyweight showdown from Fortaleza, Brazil, as two of the top big men in the biz will lock up in the UFC on Fuel TV 10 main event. Third-ranked UFC heavyweight Fabricio Werdum against MMA legend Minotauro Nogueira. They'll weigh in today in front of their Brazilian brethren. With that, we welcome you into our Fox Sports studios here in Los Angeles, California. Thank you so much for joining us. The UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV. I'm Molly Karam alongside UFC stars Chael Sonnen and Brian Stann. And Chael, Nogueira and Werdum coming off coaching on The Ultimate Fighter. You coached on Ultimate Fighter 17. Does that affect you as a fighter?
It certainly does, and their situation's a little bit different mine. Look, when coaches fight, sometimes they get their own night. In my case, John Jones and I had a separate night 2 weeks later. So we had to go watch, mentor, coach our guys. They have to compete the same night. They got to warm up in the same locker room as the athletes looking up to them. That does change things.
It certainly does, and not to mention, this fight is in Brazil. These crowds are amazing. They invigorate the fighters. There's a lot of pride on the line between these two big men as they fight in their home country, and that's going to make a difference as well.
Now back to the main event. We're looking at a matchup of two similar styles here, as both men are known as two of the very best submission specialists in the UFC. For Nogueira, this offers a chance for him to prove his relevance in the heavyweight division here, Chael.
Yeah, both these guys are known as submission guys, but let's not forget, they've both got plenty of knockouts. Look, Werdum is coming off his most impressive UFC win ever. I think his most impressive fight ever, which was a win over Roy Nelson. Nobody has done to Roy Nelson on the feet what Werdum has done. Nogueira is knocking guys out left and right. He just finished Dave Herman, a much younger fighter that many people thought would be the one to retire Nogueira. Instead, it catapulted him again into the top 10. He holds the number 8 spot.
Yeah, and you know, Nogueira is one of those guys, he comes out and fights, gets beat up for 2 rounds, and then he finishes you in the third. But Werdum, on the other hand, in his mid-30s, changed camps, trains under Rafael Cordeiro for a couple years. He goes from being a submission guy, now he's a striker. And he's not just a decent striker, he is showing high-level skills. We don't see guys this late in their career make these kinds of improvements. Werdum is showcasing he is still very hungry.
Together, Nogueira and Werdum have 37 career finishes between them, and unlike their first meeting in Japan, they've got the added pressure of fighting in front of their fellow countrymen. For more on the main event, let's head out to Brazil, where the fourth member of our broadcast is standing by, Karen Bryant. Karen.
Thanks, Molly. From day one, Minotauro Nogueira has said that he wanted to win his coach in the show and make new champions, just like they do every day at his famed Team Nogueira. Well, he can boast that he has the best eye for talent, as both finalists come from his team. Leonardo Santos was his 4th pick, and William Macario was his 6th. Across the gym, Coach Werdum was only able to advance a fighter to the semifinal round, but he can boast about leaving Big Nog in the dust in their coach's go-kart challenge. He also took pranking to new highs, or lows, depending on how you look at it. Now, when they fought 7 years ago, Big Nog took it by decision. We'll see if the jester Werdum has some new tricks up his sleeves. And there has been a change to the fight card. Unfortunately, Ronnie Marks was involved in a car accident this morning, suffered a concussion, and is no longer able to fight Derek Brunson tomorrow. Back to you, Molly.
Thanks so much, Karen Chael. Terrible news on Ronnie Marks.
Yeah, really unfortunate, but let's make sure we're clear to our viewers here. He is okay. He suffered a concussion. He's 100%. He'll even be at the show watching. But I'll tell you, Brian, I'm wondering, whose car was he in? Does he have a friend over there? Did he get an international driver's license? Generally, and I'm being serious here, generally as fighters, we get into a big, huge bus. We all ride around together. I'm kind of curious what he was doing alone.
Really odd. The only thing I could think of is he must have cut weight this morning somewhere different, had to drive, and you know, really heartbreaking for both of those guys. This is a big matchup. This is something that's going to decide who's going to be a contender and who's going to have to fight a few more fights before they make it to the main card.
Really disappointing situation. Enough from you. We want to hear from the fans. We want to get you guys involved in our Twitter poll question of the day. Minotauro Nogueira is a legend of the sport, but is he a future Hall of Famer? If you think so, tweet hashtag BigNogHOF. If you don't think so, tweet hashtag BigNogNoFame. We'll have those results later in the show. Up next, we'll get down to brass tacks as Brazilian favorites Minotauro Nogueira, Fabricio Verdum, Thiago Silva, Eric Silva, and the rest of tomorrow's competitors step up to the scale. John Anik on the mic next.
The UFC Weigh-In on Fuel TV is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, united by independence.
Thank you all for coming out to the official weigh-in. Camila Oliveira is here. The best matchmaker in the business is Joe Silva. And the inimitable Burt Watson is here as well. 12 fights for you here tomorrow night. Let's get it started with our early prelims. And we begin in the UFC's middleweight division. Antonio Braga Neto versus Anthony Lionheart Smith.
Anthony Smith, a very young fighter, I had the opportunity to train with. He's got tremendous potential. I think there's a lot of upside. His head coach, Ryan Jensen, has done a great job really trying to round out Anthony Smith's skill set. Look for big things from this young man as he crosses over from Strikeforce into the UFC. $184.
184 for Anthony Smith. And his opponent, Antonio Braga Neto. $185 for Antonio Braga Neto. All right, staying in the middleweight division, Caio Hellboy Magalhães versus Carlos Bemela. First fighter to the scale is Carlos Bemela.
Tomorrow on Baseball Night in America, Mike Trout and the Angels head to Fenway to take on the Red Sox. NL Central rivals clash as the Cardinals take on the Reds, the Padres Rockies, the Phillies Brewers, or Astros Royals. Baseball Night in America, presented by Ace Hardware, begins tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Fox.
186 for Carlos Bemela. And his opponent, Caio Magalhães. Next up in the featherweight division, Rodrigo Dom versus Mizuto Hirota. For Mizuto Hirota. And his opponent, the veteran Rodrigo Dom.
I traveled the smaller MMA circuits with Rodrigo Dom. Every morning he would get up, he'd box, he'd wrestle, he'd spar. That's pretty normal for an MMA fighter on the road. What's interesting in this case is his number one training partner is his sister, Karina.
146.
146 for Rodrigo Dom. Our next bout comes in the welterweight division. Ildemor Marajo Alcantara versus Leandro Silva.
Get ready, fans, for Fox Sports 1, America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights you want, and shows and specials that only Fox could bring you. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1, coming August 17th.
$169 for Leandro Silva. And his opponent, Ildemor Marajo Alcantara. $171 for Ildemor Alcantara. All right, back now to the featherweight division. Godofredo Pepe versus Felipe Sertanejo Aranches. $146 for Felipe Aranches. And his opponent, Godofredo Pepe.
Fighting out of Fortaleza, Pepe was a finalist on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter Brazil. He's a very strong jiu-jitsu fighter, but he wanted to focus on his Muay Thai this time, so he decided to train with Shogun's former coach, Andre Dida.
$146 for Godofredo Pepe. And our final prelim comes in the bantamweight division. Rafael Assunção versus Vaughn Lee.
Training in in Birmingham, England, Vaughn is a long way away from Brazil's tropical climate. So in order to replicate what he'd be feeling here, he brought heaters into the gym. He had to admit, it took a little bit of getting used to.
For Vaughn Lee. And his opponent, Rafael Assunção.
Rafael Assunção, he is actually the most talented guy that I train with in Atlanta. His biggest challenge is transferring that talent he could showcase in the gym and being able to put on his best performance under the lights on fight night. Look for him to do that against Vaughn Lee tomorrow night.
$135 for Rafael Assunção. And now we get to the main card for the UFC on Fuel TV. In the featherweight division, Buddy Jason versus Mike the Warrior Wilkinson. $145 for Mike Wilkinson. And his opponent, Buddy Jason. $146 for Buddy Jason. All right, moving on down the main card in the middleweight division, Daniel Sarafian versus Eddie Mendez. First fighter to the scale, Eddie Mendez. $184 for Eddie Mendez. And his opponent, Daniel Sarafian.
Believe it or not, Daniel weighed nearly 245 pounds as a teenager. That's 60 pounds more than the 5'9" fighter weighs today. He said he started training martial arts to lose weight and to shut the bullies up. I'm guessing they're pretty quiet these days.
$186 for Daniel Sarafian. Our next bout the welterweight division, Eric Silva versus Jason, the Kansas City Bandit, High. First fighter to the scale, welcome back to the UFC, Jason High.
Why would someone decide to leave the sunny beaches of Florida and head back to Kansas City? Well, according to Jason, his daughter Jaden is that reason. He misses her so much and says all he needs to do is get the W so he can get back home to his baby girl.
$170 for Jason High. And his opponent, Eric Silva.
Look at the look of seriousness in Eric Silva's eyes. You can always count on that, whether it's the weigh-in or when he's walking to that octagon. He's got a record of 14-3. He's a huge prospect, but he's 2-2 in the octagon, and he needs a win tomorrow night.
$170 for Eric Silva. And now we move along to the grudge match in the light heavyweight division. Thiago Silva versus Rafael Feijão.
You know, Rafael Feijão is a guy that I personally keep my eye on. We're in the same weight class, and guys, this guy is a wrestler killer. He won the Strikeforce Championship with a win over King Mo. He most recently knocked out Olympic silver medalist Yoel Romero. Now, he gets to fight somebody who can do everything he can do, but this time, he gets to fight him at home.
$204 for Rafael Feijão. And his opponent, the longtime UFC veteran, Thiago Silva. $206 for Thiago Silva. And now we get to our Ultimate Fighter Brazil Season 2 welterweight final. William Patolino versus Leonardo Santos. First fighter to the scale, Leo Santos. $170 for Leo Santos. And his opponent, William Patolino.
Apparently, Patolino had the worst discipline in the house when it came to food. He's got a major sweet tooth and often ate cookies and whatever he wanted. Now, as a result, you could find him at midnight sessions with wrestling coach Eric Albarracin to work it off.
170.
170 for William Patolino. All right, now it is time to take a closer look at the two men involved in tomorrow night's 5-round heavyweight main event.
Minotauro Nogueira is one of the all-time greats in mixed martial arts. The former Pride champion, he is a former UFC champion, and he is, without a doubt, one of the greatest submission artists the UFC's heavyweight division has ever known. Fabricio Verdum has had an extraordinary career in the world of grappling. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is amongst the very best in the world, not just in the UFC, but amongst all grapplers in the world.
Verdum trying to wrap him up. He's got his arm straight. He's tapping. He's tapping. Theodore losing for the first time.
Fabricio Verdum has radically improved his striking, really has shown dynamic power in knocking out Mike Russo.
I have a lot of respect with him. I fight with him in 2006 in Pride. I lost the fight, but now it's different because I have more experience now.
You know, Verdum improved a lot since the last time I fought him. That's why I'm training hard, because you never know how the fight goes.
My goal now is in UFC is beat Minotauro Force. After then, I won the opportunity for the belt.
Big shots by Verdum. Trying to finish this fight. It is all over.
One step closer to the title shot. You know, I'm very motivated. I'm ready for this fight.
Oh, just like that.
These are true mixed martial arts legends, and when they face each other, it will be an epic contest.
First fighter to the scale, the number 3 ranked heavyweight in the world, Fabricio Verdum.
According to Fabricio, tomorrow night's fight is not a chance for revenge, simply a chance to face a fighter with great history. He also doesn't really like hearing that he's the favorite in the fight and refuses to say that his jiu-jitsu is better than Nogueira's.
$242.
242 for Fabricio Verdum. And his opponent, the mixed martial arts legend, Antonio Rodrigo Minotauro Nogueira.
The legend Minotauro Nogueira makes his way in the stage, and he owns 21 victories by submission. But tomorrow night, look for his durability and his boxing to be his keys to victory over Fabricio Verdum. $237 for the former UFC champion. And ladies and gentlemen, that is your main event, Minotauro Nogueira and Fabricio Verdum. Thank you all very much for coming out. We hope to see you back here tomorrow night. For those of you watching the UFC weigh-in on Fuel TV, keep it right here. We go back to Los Angeles, California. Molly Karam, Chael Sonnen, Brian Stann, and Karen Bryant.